Hey there, Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen, leading the movement for movement, and welcome again, or welcome for the first time ever, to another edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday Training, where we take a concept, a strategy, talk about it in depth, and how we apply it to the autism and neurodivergent population. And in this edition of Autism Fitness Tuesday Training, I'm going to be talking about physical functioning. Now, of course, when we're talking about fitness and adapted physical education, we're going to come across the idea, the notion, the concept, the action of physical activity and exercise. That's what we're here for after all. But I want to go in depth about what it means and when we're actually applying the ideas and strategies of physical activity with our autism and neurodivergent population. So for context, in autism fitness programming, we use the PAC profile. That's physical, adaptive, and cognitive. Those are the three essential areas of ability that we use to assess and then address movement skills. And in this video, we're just going to cover the physical. So physical is related to what the individual can do with respect to a particular exercise or movement. In autism fitness programming, we focus predominantly on the development of strength and motor skills, and I'll get to why that is in a little bit. Now, with physical functioning, we have to first look at the goal. What do we want the outcome of a program to be? In our programming with Autism Fitness, what we want to focus on are general movement skills, particularly strength, that are going to carry over into activities of daily living. We refer to most of our athletes as life skill athletes because they are developing that strength, stability, and motor planning so that they can get better in their daily activities. What do we mean get better? It means that we have the absence of compensatory or problematic movement, the absence of potential injury risks, and the increased opportunity to perform movement well and to have it actually feel good. And for an example, not to feel winded when they walk up a flight of stairs, or not to be overwhelmed when they're carrying bags of groceries or laundry across the room or across a parking lot. These are things that we encounter on a daily basis. So these are the things that we want to focus on in our fitness programming or our adapted PE programming. Now, this doesn't mean that those skills can't also generalize to other areas of ability throughout life, but we want to look at it as a foundation. Now, are there other movement qualities beyond strength? Of course there are. In addition to strength, there's balance, there's power, there's coordination, there's cardiovascular functioning. Now, cardiovascular has a couple different aspects to it as well, and they're often confused or conflated. I'll get into that a little bit later as well. But we have to ask ourselves first and foremost, what is the most important thing we can be doing here? And that's a prioritization decision because we only have so much time. If you are running a fitness program or an adapted physical education program in the home, in the classroom, in a gym, in a clinic, any facility, guaranteed you only have a certain amount of time, an amount of sessions per week, an amount of minutes in those sessions to get things done. So we want to focus on the exercises that are going to be the most meaningful, i.e., have the most generalization to activities of daily living. And there's also a foundation of movement skills that we have to build on. I'll give an example. We can't focus on balance or cardiovascular functioning without having a basis of strength. Well, why is this? Aren't these two completely different skills? If our athlete does not have the underlying strength and stability to complete a series of steps, let's say they're going up or down a set of stairs, their cardiovascular functioning is not even going to come into play because they're using so much of their energy, percentage-wise, to get up and down those steps. But if we get their legs stronger, then they're using less overall energy in order to negotiate that particular task. That's why in autism fitness programming, strength always comes first. The other thing that we need to take into consideration is that from a physical development standpoint, what we see in many, if not most, of our autism and neurodivergent athletes is that there is a significant strength deficit. Oftentimes, this is referred to or diagnosed as low tone or poor core strength, but these are kind of catch-all terms, meaning the athlete has a general deficit in the major movement patterns. And what are those patterns? Squatting, pushing, pulling, carrying, and locomotion. So rather than say, oh, we need to build up their cardiovascular functioning or their flexibility or their balance, we need to start with strengthening all of those different basic movement patterns. Now, the good news is that we already have these prerequisite exercises for all of these major skills. For strengthening the legs, we start with squats. Oftentimes, we'll also we'll use sled pushes and sled drags as well, heavy carries. The exercise selection is relatively simple. It's a question of progressing or modifying the exercise at the current level of ability of that athlete. So we'll get into exercise selection in a little bit also. So we have all of these different movement qualities. Again, to reiterate, we have strength, we have stability, we have balance, we have power, we have cardiovascular functioning, we have steady state cardiovascular functioning, and then we have more of the non-endurance type of cardiovascular functioning. This would be more like a sprint, but we have a very fast movement, or we're looking at speed and velocity, more so speed if we're talking about running, and those are in short bursts as well. But again, the underlying factor in all of these, particularly for our population, is going to be strength. So that is where we are going to start. One of the issues that we see is programs that take too narrow a scope in delivering an outcome, and typically that outcome isn't well delivered. I'll give an example. If we're focusing all of our time on stretching, or we're focusing all of our time on balance work, it's not actually going to get the individual stronger. And so we're going to have less generalization potential from those exercises to the activities in the real world. Now, sometimes this is misunderstood, because if we have an untrained or a detrained athlete, someone who's never had a fitness program before, or an athlete for whom it's been years and years and years since they've had any type of fitness or adapted PE or therapeutic program, then just about anything is going to develop a little bit of strength. So you can take a 15-year-old athlete, for example, who's never had a movement program, put them on a recumbent bike and have them go for 20 minutes 3 times a week. And we can say, oh, they're getting stronger. That's because it's something versus nothing, but something is not optimal. When we're talking about optimal physical performance, we always have to start the conversation with strength. So it comes back to those fundamental exercises: squat, push, pull, carry, locomote, and those fundamental exercises that we use for those: squats, overhead presses, push-ups, standing band rows, band pull downs, heavy carries, farmer's walks, sled pushes, all the things that we use in the Autism Fitness certification program that we teach and then we assess and utilize. If we're not starting with these, we have to justify why we are using other exercises and what the purpose is, so what the goal is. This gets into pulling back from arbitrary exercise selection. And ultimately, when we are looking at physical functioning, our goal is to develop skills that are going to show up in other areas of life, that are going to get our athletes safer, more stable, move better, and from the adaptive or motivational perspective, become more proactive about engaging in any type of physical task because it feels good and they know that they're strong enough to be able to do it. So physical functioning in the world of autism fitness and for our autism and neurodivergent athletes comes down to: what is our goal? What is our exercise selection going to be? What does our programming look for that particular athlete? How much time can we dedicate, or how much time are we able to dedicate to this programming? And what is going to be the best way to implement this program for this particular individual? Final thing that I'll say about the physical performance aspect is that the one big mistake to avoid is to use too much variety. Variety seems like a great thing. Oh, let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Let's do, balance, and let's do power, and let's do strength, and let's do cardiovascular. What winds up happening is that there is too much of a watered down process there. We're not getting enough practice and development of competence with each exercise, that it is going to have that training effect, meaning that it is going to develop some type of skill that can be used outside the realm of that fitness or adapted PE session. So we want to keep it simple, we want to keep it structured, and we want to focus on strength. Those are the three big takeaways here. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you want to know more about and become an expert in programming for the neurodivergent and autism population, then it might be time for you to become an Autism Fitness Certified Pro. More information is down below. You can learn all about it. Send me a message if you are interested in the course. You can join from anywhere in the world. I'm Autism Fitness founder Eric Chessen. Thank you for watching another edition of Tuesday Training. Please like, please subscribe, definitely comment below if this has been helpful for you, and share as well. I'll be back again next week with another Autism Fitness Tuesday Training.